Hi, my name is Greg Campbell, Chief Architect at Acaveo. Today I want to show you some of the advanced policy capabilities of the Acaveo DataClassifier product. The first thing I want to show you is how you can set up advanced filters for use with your policies. So let me go to the Policies node, and I'm going to open up an existing policy that I have. And I'll go to the Filter node. And currently this is a basic credit card number policy, and so it simply has a regular expression whereby it's searching for the credit card. So I want to talk a little bit about regular expressions and how you can use regular expressions to build your policies. So if I click the ... button, that'll bring up my regular expression builder with the current policy loaded. The first thing to note is that while I'm building my regular expression, if I ever do anything that results in an invalid regular expression, I'll know it right away. I'll see immediately that the background in the regular expression text box it changes to this red color. So I know that what I currently have is not a valid regular expression. And once I have a valid regular expression, that box will go to a green color. So I have that visual indicator as to whether on a basic level what I've entered is a valid regular expression. Any regular expression that I build, I can give a description. But then I can also, in the testing box, I can actually play around with and see which patterns meet and which do not meet my regular expression. So for example, in this case, the credit card number regular expression, I can actually enter in some credit cards and see what meets and what doesn't meet. So if I change something, for example, you'll see it'll dynamically be refreshing what meets and doesn't meet the regular expression. So I have this constant feedback as I'm typing, as I'm trying different patterns, what's working, what's not working, and I can really learn if the regular expression is correct just by a matter of going through that process. There's a ton of templates that ship standard with Acaveo DataClassifier. These will give you a lot of ideas in terms of how to structure certain things. So for example, if I go to Canadian Postal Code, I can see exactly how it's structuring things to match a Canadian Postal Code pattern. Okay, and so that'll give me a lot of hints as to how to build these regular expressions. But the other thing that I can do, if I go to the Language Elements tab, this is almost like an inline help where I can look at, for example, character escapes. I can look at different character classes, and I can go through here and by looking at the descriptions, I can see, oh, I can use a /w if I want to match any word character, and then it has a sample of what a sample pattern would look like, and then what that sample pattern would result in given a test string. And so pretty much anything that's valid in a regular expression is included in here, and I can browse through and see what are the building blocks which I can use to build a regular expression. But there's still no magic answer here. The power of Acaveo DataClassifier is that it lets you use regular expressions, but that does mean you need to do a little bit of work to figure out how to structure these regular expressions, or contact Acaveo support, and we'll be happy to provide you with a regular expression given that'll meet your requirements. But the regular expressions truly are a powerful feature. They're something that native indexing just cannot give you, and by being able to match user-defined patterns, we can solve problems and we can find content that a regular indexing process could never find. That's one of the real strengths for Acaveo DataClassifier. So that's regular expressions. Like I say, it really all comes down to there being this builder to help you build your expressions to make sure you're getting the proper results prior to applying your policy. The next thing that you can do in terms of building a more advanced filter is you can include more than one property. So as opposed to just going off of the body and looking for a credit card, I could also, for example, if I want to check any other common text field like the title or the subject or comments or keywords, I could enter in the same regular expression down there, and it would essentially be doing an OR at that point, to be looking for both. Okay, and I can look for things with certain last modified dates, so I can say, when it is younger than a year. So anything that it has to have credit card number somewhere in it and has to have been modified in the last year. And I can use file names. So if I knew sort of a part of the path, if I knew I was interested in content that was on Greg Dev G on any of those file shares, right, I could do something like this, right, and that would be a valid regular expression, and that would match sort of anything on that that it would further restrict my results to having to come from here. So that's the first thing I can do. We have sort of the out of the box. There's this simple mode for setting up a filter. I can define some combination of properties that I'm looking for, and that gives me some of the advanced capability of DataClassifier. But if I want to get even more expressive in my policies, I can switch to what we call advanced mode for the filter. So if I go down here to the bottom tab stack and I click on advanced, you'll see what it actually did is it took what I've already configured in simple mode and it's showing you what's actually happened under the cover. At the end of the day, everything comes back to essentially a logic tree. And it gets expressed as that. So essentially that means that we have a root level and then underneath that we have additional information. And so what this is saying, if I was to read the existing logic tree, that all of the following need to be met. That their body has to have a credit card number in it. And in addition, the last modified has to be, in this case we expand it, has to be younger than a year. And then in addition, one of the following must be true. And you can see here it's searching a bunch of different properties for a regular expression, the credit card number. And then finally, the file name has to match. And so you can kind of see how the logic that we expressed in simple mode, how that gets translated behind the scenes. And you could probably start to get ideas for how we can manipulate this and change this. So I have basic building blocks when I'm setting up these filters. Essentially, I can nest these group filters, which is an and or an or, and I can also make those exclusive. So if I have an or, I can say not. Right? And so then it's going to be an exclusive property. I can change ors to ands, but the other building block that I have is the property filter itself. And so when I add a property filter, what I get to leverage is any property that exists within your search schema. Okay, so this is everything that you have set up. So if you've configured custom properties, they'll show up here. You'll be able to use them and build policies on them. Some are grayed and some are regular black. So that's showing you which ones would typically be, which ones have crawl properties that map into the SharePoint managed properties. Okay, so typically the only ones that are you're going to be able to leverage are the ones that have a crawl property that maps into it. The only exception to that would be if there was something as a part of the indexing process that happened before the invocation of the DataClassifier Content Enrichment Web Service that was manually setting some of these other grade properties. So you see there's a lot of different properties here that we can leverage and build rules on, and there's we support dates, integers, and strings, and they all have different operations. So for example, if I select a date, it automatically knows it's a date, and I can do equals, which are based on specific dates, not equal, younger than, older than. If I select a string property, my options are to do an equals, a not equals, a contains, or a regular expression. Okay, and for integers, I can do regular integer operations, greater than, less than, all that kind of stuff. So I can basically, if you can think of a set of business logic, a set of rules that you want to evaluate, you can express it in this logic tree. Okay, that's a key feature of DataClassifier. Whatever your business logic is, we're flexible enough that we'll let you express it into a policy that will apply at indexing time to find all the items that meet that business logic. The next thing you can do with the policy is to associate some additional actions with it. So I go to the Actions tab. By default there aren't any actions specified here, but what I can do is I can choose to add an action. So I can add a set property action, and that will essentially allow me to select any property from my search schema and assign it a value. And so what the outcome of this is that any item that meets the filter that we've specified will automatically have this property assigned to this value. So for example, in this environment, I've gone and created a custom property called classification in my search schema. So I can go ahead and say classification equals secret, since it has credit card numbers in it, and just accept that. And what that would mean is the next time that I performed an index and there was an item found that met this credit card number policy, the classification property would automatically get set in the search index to have the value of secret. And I'd be able to leverage this however I wanted. I'd be able to leverage it in regular searches. I'd be able to potentially leverage it in other third-party applications, and I could certainly leverage it from Accoveo's Smart Information Server product, which would let me do things like find all the items that had a particular classification and take some remedial action on it. So, for example, migrate it into some secure storage location, perform defensible deletion on it, any one of a number of the information governance actions that Smart Information Server is able to apply. And I can add as many of these actions as I want, so I can add additional properties as well that I can set. So that gives you an idea of some of the additional things that you can do with a policy over and above just sort of using it as a bag of everything that meets a certain set of criteria. You've seen how we can get really advanced in terms of and really granular with how we specify what meets the policy, and you've seen how we can then additionally take additional action on items that do meet the policy. So thanks for watching.